Welcome!
What's that? We're talking about Godzilla!
Welcome to Hit the Fans. I'm Dan.
And I'm Joe, a show brought to you by the fans for the fans, where we're going to talk about everything that has to do with the sci-fi and fantasy genres, like everything behind us and then some. But today's episode, we're going to be talking about
Godzilla. And let's just start off by saying I loved this movie.
I did as well.
Thanks, Joe, for your opinion.
Let's start with the King of the Monsters himself. Go ahead. I know you're biting a bit.
I loved him. I know, like, as, like, you saw, like, concept art and stuff, you didn't like it at first, but I told you he was going to grow on you. Mm-hmm. And he grew on you.
He did grow on me.
I wasn't as critical, so the moment I saw him, I loved him. But let's talk about you.
When we first saw, like, a promotional thing that looked like this Godzilla, I don't know if you guys can see, I'm pretty sure you guys can. I don't know, there was just something about it that just didn't kind of, like, really feel right. And I think it's just that design of that for that promo pictures or whatever. It just, I don't know, something about it.
He looks like he's smiling. He looks really, really happy.
Yeah, and I think it was used in Brazil, and it was like a cardboard stand type thing. And it just really, there's something about it. And anyways, fast forward a few months after that, they came out with a more detailed version. It actually had like spines and a little bit different coloring, and teeth were a little bigger and so on and so forth, and it looked a lot better, and I did like that design. But then again, there was also like these toys that were leaked of the Light and Sound Godzilla, and he looked really derpy, and it was just like, man, like he looks like the Geico Gecko, just maybe on steroids. And it was just like, oh man, it didn't fit. And then, you know, the trailers and stuff, and you started to see him a little bit more, and you became more okay with it, and ultimately I do like this design. I'm still more partial to the Japanese Godzilla Man in the Suit designs, and I think I always will be, but I still thought it was a great movie, and mission accomplished for Legendary.
Yeah, I really liked the fact that they made it like a more realistic sort of approach to it. Mm-hmm. Like his feet, people complain about that, but it's like it has a reason, because he's a big, giant animal. Like big dinosaurs had feet like that because it's weight. You know, he got stumps. Then like he had the gills and stuff because he lives underwater. You know, stuff like that. It's like
I didn't even think the gills were really that.
No, because they're not that prominent.
Yeah,
they're just like little slits, and you're like, oh, they're gills.
The only time I really saw him was in the. By the way, everybody, there's gonna be spoilers in this, just so you know. Was when he roared the final time before going into the ocean, and he roared into the sky, and his neck kind of stretched out. Like, that's the only time that I really was like, oh yeah, he has gills.
Yeah.
You know, but even then, it didn't really bother me.
No. But aside from Godzilla, there's also two other monsters in this movie. The Mutos. And they were equally as awesome.
I liked him. I thought it was really cool how they did two different sexes. You know, the Hawk Muto being the flying male Muto, which was significantly smaller than the Femme Muto, which was like the female queen. You know,
yeah, another realistic take on it. You know,
yeah,
males and females,
exactly,
different sizes.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool, especially the whole she's pregnant, or you know, and she lays eggs, and there's the nest, and that's like the whole motive behind them. And I thought that was really cool how the whole, even though this was used in '98 and a few other movies, they could become the new dominant species. Yeah. And there was a lot of parallels between this movie and the Gamera trilogy of the '90s. And in the sense of Gauss being the shadow of evil, and Gamera awakening to combat the shadow.
Yeah.
And each Gauss is born pregnant and the ability to reproduce, and they will quickly become the dominant life's form of this planet, and just I thought that was really cool. That was something that really interested me, and there was a lot of maybe I don't want to say inspirations, but similarities and stuff there that I thought was really cool.
I mean, even the Mutos themselves kind of look like Gauss. Or the male one.
Yeah,
kind of
a
has
little
like Gauss
Yeah.
similarities to it.
Yeah, that and like Legion and like the creatures from Starship Troopers and which was cool. I really enjoyed that that storyline. It actually gave a sense of purpose of why are these creatures just awakening now?
Yeah, because like people know who Godzilla is. They don't know
Yeah.
who these are. These are a whole new monster.
Right.
Yeah, it's named Godzilla, but you still have to introduce this monster, or it's gonna be like, oh, now there's a monster.
Yeah,
So I like that storyline.
Yeah.
Like it gives it like a background.
absolutely. What do you think about everything else?
Everything else,
Mhm.
I loved everything else.
Okay.
Not to be blunt about it, I loved it. Done. I'm out. No, I mean we're gonna talk about cons later. So cons kind of it sucks because it kind of leads into stuff because there's like some stuff that happens
Yeah.
beforehand. But when the big pros of mine are at the end, the fighting when they actually have a big battle between them is amazing.
Mhm.
It is probably like it's one of the coolest things I've seen recently. It's like there's just so much going on. You're like, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. It's got everything because it's like Godzilla's very like, boom, boom, boom. He's got that part where he like grabs her and like throws her in the thing. You're like, jeez,
Yeah.
this guy, you don't fuck with this guy.
Yeah. I did like how the 2-on-1 scenes where it was, single-handedly the Mutos are no match for Godzilla.
Yeah.
It was when they started tag teaming them,
Mm.
two and maybe if there's more against one, and that's how they took him down. And when they showed that snippet in the beginning with the bones of another Godzilla, and the Mutos actually lay their eggs in Godzilla because he was back then the only thing really equivalent to a nuclear missile.
Right.
And that's what killed the Godzilla, and they absorbed the radiation. I thought that was really cool how they were actually like fighting for a reason, even though Godzilla was a little bit of a cock block to the Mutos,
Hey guys,
Yeah.
none of that.
Yeah, oh, you guys are in love? I don't think so.
Yeah, but that was like that's another thing. That's another cool thing about like the whole realism of it. It's like they're not just monsters for the sake of monsters.
Yeah.
They're creatures that just happen to be gigantic, and
Right.
we're just there. So it's like all they really want is to just have babies.
Yeah.
They're not purposely going out and destroying stuff.
Right.
It's just like sucks that you have nuclear missiles, but I need them.
Yeah.
And I'm bigger.
Yeah.
So sucks to be you.
Yeah.
And then Godzilla's just like, I'll stop them. But he's not like I'm just breaking through buildings and shit. There's
Exactly.
It's not just mindless destruction.
Which is actually something that surprised me, which I will kind of throw this into the pro category, is Godzilla was not, yes, he was a force of nature, but he was not a force of destruction.
Right.
He was not, he dove underneath the battleships. He walked around the building in Honolulu. He rose up in front of the bridge to protect the children. And he didn't just, oh, there's a building in my, not anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? It was more of, I'm not necessarily saying that he was trying to protect the buildings.
He
or
still
anything
breaks
like that.
buildings. There's like one where there's a Muto on the top.
Right.
He swats the Muto
Right.
moves. He still breaks
Yeah,
the building, but it's
exactly.
not like he's purposely.
Yeah,
just
he's
being
not
like,
going out of his way to destroy the
Yeah.
buildings. You know what I mean?
There's a purpose behind everything
Yeah.
that he does.
And I thought that was cool, but at the same time, it threw me off guard a little bit
Yeah.
because just the way the trailers were and everything. I guess I just had a preconceived notion that Godzilla was not necessarily the big baddie, but like would ultimately defeat whatever these Mutos ended up being, but would be the big baddie of this series where they were like, we need to stop Godzilla. He's slaughtering millions for no reason. Blah 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 blah.
Instead of everyone being like, "Thanks, buddy."
Yeah, savior of our city.
King of the monsters.
Yeah, King of the Monsters, which I loved that at the end. I thought that was really cool. How that was just like a little thing.
snippet.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was neat. And of course, the heat ray, atomic breath, was awesome.
It was one of my favorite parts. because there's like a scene where like Ford is like he's like it's almost the end, bro. I'm almost done. And then you just see this blue light on his face.
Yeah.
And I just had the biggest grin on my face. I'm just like, yeah. And then the way they show it too, it's not like they just show him to just be like, whoa. No, it's like you see his tail go up, and then you see him shoot up his spines, and he's covered in smoke. You don't see him, and then you just see the blue going up, and you're just like, good God, that's awesome.
I was so like entranced by the fight scenes that I. Is that a code?
There's a thing in my face.
I was so like entranced and like just enamored by the tooth and claw fight that had been going on that I had completely forgotten that I have the atomic war Godzilla toy and that there's gonna be the atomic ray in the movie. And until like that blue light started shining, I was just like, "Oh yeah! How did I forget this?" And it was great. I enjoyed it. It was awesome, and especially the ending fight when he just kind of grabbed. Well, a quick story before that. I went to go see Godzilla with my mom, and when Godzilla fell and he was looking at Ford. And I was asking my mom what her favorite part was. She said it was that part, and I was like, "Really, Mom? Why?" And she's like, "Because Godzilla was just looking at that guy going like, 'Don't worry, bro, I got your back.'" And I'm like, "Mom, I don't think he meant that." And she goes, "No, he did. Because in the next scene, when the big bitch is going to kill the guy, Godzilla comes and, like, bites the dude and, like, bites the bitch and rips open the mouth and shoots his fire," this is my mom saying this, "down his throat and it decapitates him," which was an amazing scene. And then my mom was like, "See?" And then he kind of looked back, was like, "Told you, bro." I'm just like, "Okay.
I got this."
Yeah,
I just like the way when he does it. He's like, whoa, decapitates, and then he's just like, boom, did it.
Mike Jack.
And then he's like, I'm tired. Yeah. So, but it's just like, boom, done.
Yeah,
it was just awesome.
It was a great part. I'll be honest. I guess I should have seen it coming. I guess a lot of people did. I kind of expected the whole King Kong.
Yeah, that's what I
breaking
at
up
first
the jaw
I expected
or
it, and then it clicked in my head. I was like, oh no, he's gonna spit in her mouth.
Yeah, well, when like she came back with her limb and like grabbed him on the top of his jaw, and he went like that, and he like shook it back, and I was like, oh yeah,
he's like, I'm just gonna rip it. No, boom.
Yeah, that was pretty epic.
It was more than epic.
Yeah,
I don't know what the next level above epic is.
So, way to go, Legendary! You accomplished what many people thought was impossible. You did it.
It was not a natural disaster, all right? What's really happening is that you're hiding something out there. And I have a right to know!
Now, we talked a lot about the pros, and we think it's only fair that we talk about cons, too. Nothing in this world is perfect. Everything has its flaws, so it's only right that we talk about.
Except Dane's cheesecake. It's fucking perfect in every way.
There you go. So we don't necessarily agree with all of these cons, but we think it's only fair that we address them because these are legitimate things that fans
so it wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't be fair. I think the biggest one that I've heard, and it's not even that people hated this; they just maybe thought it was too much. Was too many teases.
Yeah.
And I do, again, I loved the movie, but I do kind of agree with that, actually. It was great reveals, and I loved the action scenes, and I loved the different shots and effects of Godzilla. I thought that was great. But you said it when the Honolulu scene, they did the big reveal of Godzilla. That was it. That was the big reveal.
Right.
And then they just decided to, nope, okay, no, we're going to wait, right? You're going to have another one. And it's like, oh, don't get me wrong, it was cool. I loved the scene of him swimming up to the bridge, but show us that fight. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing because like the stuff they do show you is so epic. You just want more.
Yeah.
And it's
like, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, you're like, come on, man, I can't. I just want more. Please,
sir, can I have another? Drifting.
Yeah. But I think we've had conversations about this. And I think the big thing that we've kind of agreed with is that we kind of, I don't want to say ruined, but we've spoiled so much for ourselves watching all the trailers, watching all the clips, watching all the interviews, reading all the interviews, doing all this stuff, and we're just, you got this whole thing in your mind. You're like, this is what's gonna happen. This is gonna be this. This is gonna be this. This is gonna be this, and then it's not, and you're like,
And that's on us, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
is on
that's
us.
not anything to do
No.
with the movie. That's on us that
Right.
we saw too much, we read too much.
like the big one for me was like the WonderCon thing was the whole Honolulu scene. That's the whole thing. You see it all, and it was awesome. The first time you ever watch it, it's like, this is cool, and I'm okay with just seeing this. But then you're like, the movie's coming. What happens after that? That was probably one of my biggest things I was looking forward to. I was like, what happens after that?
Yeah.
What's this fight gonna look like? And then you watch it, and it's like, oh, there's no fight.
Yeah.
It's on a TV screen, but there's no real fight.
I think that, like, it was almost like all the teases were, I mean, they were done great because they accomplished what they wanted you to do, because they wanted you to want more.
Right.
And they wanted you to see more, which all these feelings that they wanted you to feel, you were feeling. And even when, Gareth's like, if you don't get, you're going to get teared up. I did get teared up a little bit, like when, his wife died and stuff. Like, that,
Yeah.
that was sad. But, like, all these teases, it left you wanting more. But I feel like it was dangerously close to wanting
Too much.
more. Like, they
to
almost,
make it normal.
Exactly. Like, they kept teasing you almost dangerously close to where if the reveals waited any longer, I think people would have been like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
This is bullshit, and again, great movie and everything, but I came for the monsters. I didn't
Right.
come for Bryan Cranston or Aaron Taylor Johnson or any of the others. I came for Godzilla.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know the majority of people probably did. Yes, it helped get other fans in there that, like Bryan Cranston and so on and so forth, but we came for Godzilla, and I
Yeah.
think that it came dangerously close to not showing enough of him.
Yeah. I think, again, we talked about this a lot. The big thing that we kind of agreed on was show that airport fight.
Yep. Even
Just-
if it's 30 seconds a minute.
Because, like I said, you see it in the TV, so you've seen the fight. You know it's quick. But just show it.
Mhm.
Because it's not going to water down the final fight. The final fight's still going to be way more epic than that fight.
Mhm.
But it gives you more than just here he is roaring,
Mhm.
and then now here's a child. It's like you still get to see him fight. Yes, it's only a minute, but you get to see him in action.
Mhm.
And you don't get to see him in action for more than like a few frames or a few
Sure.
seconds, because it's like, oh, he's breaking through the bridge, and then you get this really cool scene, and I that's probably one of my favorite shots is him breaking through the bridge. You get the fog and everything, and then it's just like, nope,
Yeah.
fuck you, Dan, and I'm like, but Gareth. And then or the scene that when the Mudo's gonna fight him, he's like swooping down, and then they start fighting, and then the doors are just closed, and you're just like, no.
Well, that is definitely something that is, again, on us for watching too many of the TV
Right.
spots, the trailers and all that, and reading too much. But also, there was people that posted the leaked trailers and footage. And again, it's on us for watching them. But there is a case where literally 12 hours or something like that, if that, before the movie had its first showing here in the States, somebody posted the scene of Godzilla using his atomic ray. And it's like, why are you posting it 12 hours before?
Right.
The people that are going to go see it, we're already going to see it.
And they
You're not
won't-
changing someone's mind 12 hours before.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if anything, that ruined a lot. That
Yeah.
ruined the fanboys.
Yeah. If
perspective
anyone's
of
gonna
it.
go like, I don't want to see a movie about a giant lizard.
Oh my
Oh
god!
hell, that giant lizard blows out blue flame because I don't really know what he is. Yep, I'm gonna go see it now. It's
Yeah,
like, no, what's the
exactly.
fucking point? It just
Exactly.
spoils everything.
Exactly, and that's one thing that obviously we agreed that we're going to
Mm-hmm.
do differently is definitely not read as much and definitely not watch as much going into Godzilla 2 and 3.
Right.
Because and definitely not to be mean or anything, but maybe Blocker on Friend, some of the people that we know did that just for the time being, just so
It's just
that-
temporary.
yeah, I mean, not to be rude or anything, but I don't want it to be, ruined. This is a movie that, a lot of Godzilla fans have been waiting 10 years for.
Yeah.
After 2004's Godzilla Final Wars, Toho said, we're retiring Godzilla for about 10 years.
Yeah.
So, pretty much the second we all heard that, the clamoring all started oh, I wonder what the 60th anniversary film's going to be. And then we heard the stories of, Godzilla 3D to the max, which ended up turning into this script. with Yoshimitsu Banno, the director of Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, was an executive producer on the legendary film. So, as this kind of mutated and evolved into this, what we got to see, the anticipation got the better of us by us watching that. Right. But I still don't agree with people posting the spoilers and stuff like that because it takes away from
it. Does.
But anyways,
because you're waiting all this time to see it in the theater.
Right.
I don't want to see it on a little tiny screen on YouTube and it just well, now I'm seeing it.
Right.
Now it's not going to be as cool.
Yeah, and I mean, Facebook has this thing where if you're over a video, it plays it. And that's the big reason why the Atomic Breath was ruined, of how it looked in the movie. Because if I just would have saw it, said, spoiler, Godzilla's atomic, I would have just kept scrolling. I wouldn't have watched. I could have waited 12 hours. I had waited, how long? So, But that actually goes into another con that we had heard about, and I kind of agree with, is the way Godzilla's nuclear atomic ray looked. I thought maybe it was a little bit too thin. I would have liked it to have been a little bit thicker, but I still thought it looked cool. I thought it was great. Well done. I just wish it was a little bit thicker because when he shot it down the Femmuto's mouth, it looked like a laser beam.
See, I read some stuff about it, and it was trying to be all scientific, and it's that was the closest representation of realistic that they could get. It was that's how a laser works.
Because
it would
Godzilla's
work.
realistic.
Yeah, it was that's how it would work inside of him, sort of thing. It's then again, it's no other animal does it, so how do you know the science behind it? But it's if you want to try to explain it, it's okay, whatever. Yeah. I didn't mind it. I thought it was cool. Clearly. But there's some other stuff, people complaining about Aaron Taylor Johnson being boring.
I was fine with him.
Now, I was bored with him the first time we watched it, because again, the first time we watched it, I can honestly say I was slightly disappointed because of all that shit that we watched. And you're oh, well, it wasn't what I wanted. And then you're reading all this stuff, and it's oh, people say he's boring. All right, I'm gonna watch and make sure he's boring. Yep, he's boring. Then, as we watch it more and more every time, we realize all that stuff that ruined it for us is now washing away. When we saw it in IMAX, we just came out of the theater and we're that was fucking awesome. Yeah. It was the best thing we've ever, the best version that we've watched.
Exactly.
And he didn't bother me at all.
And again, I think it goes to people, and not just us, because I know there's a lot of people out there that just read everything, watched everything, and maybe if you had a negative reaction of this film, take a step back and just realize, number one, this is a movie. Right. It's supposed to be for enjoyment. I don't want to sit here and nitpick films.
No, I don't.
You know what I mean? I watch this. I watch movies because I enjoy them. I wanted to do this because I like talking about movies. I'm not trying to be a rock star. I'm not trying to be famous. You know what I mean? I enjoy doing this, and that's what I think people need to realize is that these are movies. Everybody.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Yeah. If you can go into a movie, and like I said from our very first episode, and suspend your disbelief for an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long the movie is, and enjoy it, mission accomplished.
Right.
And I got to do that with this. I got to see what my childhood idol, for lack of a better word, on the big screen in a big budget representation done right.
Right.
Sure, I could nitpick here for hours, but I don't want to, because the pros far outweighed the cons, and it made Godzilla relevant. It made him cool. He was a box office success. Everything I could have hoped for, everything I could have ever wanted, except for maybe a big budget King Ghidorah. Wink, wink. But just have fun. Don't don't nitpick everything. Don't try to be rock stars about stuff.
It's a monster movie.
Exactly. Have fun.
Right. You can nitpick any Godzilla movie, but it's fun. Just enjoy these movies. Stop.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then, they got the sequels coming out, so all this stuff that they're probably listening to, because clearly they were listening to other people, while making this movie. They were clearly listening.
Oh, absolutely.
So now they're making sequels. They're clearly going to listen to what people said. Yeah. So
maybe not necessarily us.
But they have things they can do. They have ways to fix stuff. We now have sequels, and now we can change some things.
Absolutely.
And there you go. Deal with it.
Godzilla.
You were talking about the sequels, and Godzilla did great. It exceeded box office expectations. It made over $92, $93 million, and The second day or third day of its release, they announced sequels.
We're doing it.
Yeah, right. And that's awesome. And that's exactly everything that I think us as fans and everybody out there as fans wanted.
Yeah.
We wanted a new series and a trilogy, hopefully more.
Yeah.
You know?
Because like we said, like with all teases and stuff, you're like, now what?
Mhm.
Now what do we see? So now they can show more of them.
I think
And-
that's the next logical
Yeah,
step.
you're
They
just
kinda
like,
have to.
yes.
Mhm.
Because it was all awesome. Like when you see him, it's so awesome. Now you get to see it. Now you're like, now what are
Yeah.
we going to do?
Yeah.
Are we going to bring in some old monsters? Are we going to bring in some new monsters? Are we going to bring in a new monster and an old monster? We don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of Easter eggs in there for some other certain monsters.
There was a lot of Easter eggs, which
Mm.
I caught right away. Like in our first, I was like, Mothra! Yeah, and everyone's like looking at me. I'm like, sorry.
I didn't want to buy that in name. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought it was cool though. I thought that they threw in the Mothra reference and a couple of them,
oh, there's more than a couple.
and they. So that, I mean, that kind of seems like that would be the next logical step. Would maybe introduce Mothra.
Right.
And at the one of the ending scenes when Ford blows up the gas tank and destroys the nest, it looks like there's a dragon's head. To me, it looked very much like Ghidra. That's what I saw the first time,
saw
and
it
every
the first
time that
time.
I saw it after it, some people are saying, "Oh, it looked like Manda." Either way, I mean,
It's
or
an
maybe it's nothing. I mean, to me, I looked at it, and even when we saw it last night in IMAX, I was just like, "Yeah, that really." I get that that's a Chinese dragon head because they were in Chinatown. I get that, but like, it looks really.
He's got a lot
close
of
to,
Chinese
Yeah, I
dragon
mean,
aspect to his head.
it just to me it looked like Ghidra. So I mean, I haven't heard anything confirming or denying it, but it would be great to see a big budget Ghidra. I would love that.
Well, it's just weird. Like it's Mothra. So far, it's like Mothra and Ghidra are the two little hints. It's like
Mm-hmm.
GMK-ish kind of a thing. Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe not. I don't know. Do you? I don't know. Do
I
you?
I mean, as cool that would be, I doubt they would
I
go
doubt it
that
too.
route.
Yeah, I
I mean,
know.
I know they
But I mean, I don't mean like that route, but maybe just like those three monsters. You know? But then again,
I think
you
it
don't
would be
want
cool,
King
but
Ghidra.
I'm gonna tell you why I don't think it will work, and I'm gonna tell you the exact same reason because there's been, Gareth wants to do a Destroy All Monsters sequel, and he wants to introduce Monster Island. I think both of those are great ideas, but I'm gonna tell you why I don't like them for the sequel ideas. The Monster Island idea you could set up in the sequel, fine, but I'm gonna tell you why I don't like the Destroy All Monsters. There's too many monsters in the original. There's too many origins.
Yeah.
And you still need to do a little bit more with Godzilla before you bring in Mothra and Ghidra and Rodan, Gorosaurus, Minya, Kumunga, Kamacuras, Varan, Baragon, so on and so forth.
We're done.
Well, I mean, and I just don't. I think you need to be careful.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to fall into the Spider-Man film issues where they, try to do too much in too little a time. They had a 2.5 hour movie that they focused 2 hours on the love story, half hour on the villains. Wrong move.
Right.
And you don't want to do that because you've already teased us enough with Godzilla. You showed him, just enough. Now it's time for him to take over the screen.
Right.
It's time for them to not just be one big final battle. Have them be, a couple battles. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a Godzilla battle. Like, why
Right.
can't it be Mothra versus the military or Mothra versus Rodan or, something cool that, we haven't really seen in either A, a long time, or B, ever.
Right.
And I think they need to save the Destroy All Monsters aspect of a film for almost like the wrap-up film of a trilogy, whether it be Godzilla 3 or Godzilla 6.
Right.
Just to give it enough time to introduce all these other kaiju in these plot points.
Yeah. Just thought about this. What if they did a Destroy All Monsters with all new monsters? Like if over time they just introduced new monsters and then they did it.
Do you mean like new original monsters?
Yeah, like the Mudos. Not in Godzilla 3, because I don't think a Destroy All Monsters could work in 3 movies. Because if you want to have a Destroy All Monsters, there's like you said, it doesn't matter if it's original or new. There's just too many monsters. You want to have too many monsters in this fight, so you need to explain them.
Well, I also did hear that when they talked about the Destroy All Monsters, they weren't going to have like 11 monsters like Destroy All Monsters had, and it wasn't going to be 10 versus 1, like 10 monsters versus Ghidra is what it essentially was. they wanted to do kind of like an even team thing, like a 3-on-3 or a 5-on-5 or whatever, and that would be cool. That would be like, I wouldn't be opposed to them reintroducing a Muto, or like maybe like, they had the Fem Muto and they had the Hawk Muto. What about like a warrior class Muto? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the queen's like, big and in control, but is a queen really ever built for combat? No, right. There's the worker / warrior drones or whatever. Like that would be cool if they did something like that. But I would still rather see, Mothra and Rodan.
The old monsters.
Yeah, I'd rather see them. I'm perfectly fine with them creating new kaiju and using them to help build up some of these original, or even make them a big baddie or something like that. Or even tweaking the designs. There was this really cool fan art representation of like a Muto Gigan, and it was very organic. And some people were like, no, he doesn't have any of the blades and stuff. And I was like, well, Gigan started off organic. We never showed it in the movie, but like, you could, always say, oh, well, then, that the Gigan Muto got defeated. What if we repaired it? What if we added our technology into it and made the Gigan? Like, that would kind of be cool. I'd be okay with that. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people maybe wouldn't, and that's fine. I mean, teach their own. But I think that they should definitely reintroduce, with how many Easter eggs of like Mothra and stuff, that they're going to plan on bringing some of the Toho monsters. And there was this podcast that said that, they can't do Ghidra because the origin doesn't work. Number one, it's a monster movie. You can make any origin work. And why is a Ghidra origin so far-fetched? You reminded me of this the other day when we were talking. There is a moon on, was it Saturn?
Saturn.
That rains
diamonds.
Fuck diamonds.
Let's go there, mine it, and I'll be rich. Just for me.
Instead, like, you were saying, what is water to us? To us, it is the most essential thing in the universe. But
who's saying there can't be a monster out there that survives off diamonds?
Right, exactly. Like, what other planet or moon do you know that rains diamonds? Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's outrageous. That's outlandish. Right. That's something that 50 years ago was so far-fetched sci fiction that, but now it's like.
Well, now it's real.
Exactly. The new Titanosaurus dinosaur that they found. Its shin bone was like twice the size of a human. Like, that's crazy. Like back.
That's crazy.
Well, it is. I mean, so when people are saying, "Oh, well, some of these origins and stuff aren't going to work," tweak them a little bit.
Tweak them.
You don't need to necessarily say, "Oh, it's an alien invasion that brought Gigan or Orga or Ghidra, or Space Godzilla."
Why can't they just come from space?
Why can't they just come from space?
That'd be fine.
Exactly.
Meteorite, boom. You don't know.
Well, that's how Ghidra first came here. Like, he had no real necessarily ties to any alien race. That didn't happen until Monster Zero. Granted it was like the next film, but still, yeah. But I mean,
they didn't have anything until like the second one. But,
well,
whatever.
You know what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
If a life form, whether it be a small insignificant life form, lives on that moon that rains diamonds, you can bet that it's going to be stronger and more durable than anything here. Yeah. It has to survive falling diamonds, I mean, so that's all you have to do is say, oh, well, this Ghidra, this creature, it evolved on a planet that was blah, blah, blah. And, blah, blah, blah. And same thing with...
In the blah, 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 blah sector of space.
And same thing with Hedorah. Like, they kind of did that with the smog monster. Like, a planet that's, polluted. And, I just want to see the three-headed giant space goddamn. That's it. I just want to see him.
It's just like, it sounds ridiculous, but if there's a planet that can rain diamonds, why can't there be a monster that's in space somewhere?
Exactly.
Like, why? It sounds ridiculous, but damn it, why not?
Exactly. I'm sorry, I dominated a lot of that. Do you want to say anything?
Oh, no, don't worry about it. I mean, we talked about sequels. We didn't talk about the fact that it was the biggest monster movie opening of all time.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't really think would surprise a lot of people.
No, let's be honest, not this day and age, but it's a fact. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's great.
That's awesome. But it's not even like it was just like, oh, it's the biggest monster movie by a little bit. No, it's huge. It's like competing with big movies.
Yeah.
That's what's cool about
Amazing Spider-Man.
Right. That's what's cool about it.
Just very shy of Captain America.
What about
Winter
X-Men?
Soldier. And yeah, the day we're filming this is Friday the 23rd, and X-Men came out last night. X-Men made an estimated $8.1 million in late night showings on Thursday, and Godzilla made 9.3. So I mean that's
Suck it, X-Man!
Yeah, exactly. So like that's really cool. You know,
It is
I
really
mean,
cool.
For movies that when people ask me like, "Oh, what are you into?" and I'm like Godzilla, and they're like, "Ha ha ha," and now it's like, "Oh, what are you into? Superheroes? Ha ha ha!"
Yeah.
You know, Godzilla beat
Yeah.
them. You know, that's kind of cool. It kind of gives us Godzilla fans like bragging rights, so to speak. You know.
Last thing I want to say is it's cool to see now, like it was just announced that Gareth Edwards is going to be doing like a Star Wars thing. And it's just cool to see that this movie is going to be the springboard for his career.
Yeah.
Just like it's like that's really cool to kind of see it now. Like to see it happening, you're just like, and it's one like one of your favorite things, Godzilla. It's just like that's cool.
Absolutely.
It's like, thanks Godzilla, and he's just like, no problem, Gareth.
Yeah.
Thanks for making.
I got your back, bro.
Yeah. Because he's gonna protect you from the big bitch.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think that'll about do it for this episode of Hit the Fans. We really appreciate all of your like and support. Please continue to like and subscribe to us. Facebook.com/Dankfist and YouTube search engine Dankfist. And please continue to send us comments and all this other stuff. Also, our next episode is going to be on X-Men, Days of Future Past. So see it, review it, whatever. Post it on Dankfist and tell us what you think, and we will mention you guys in our future episodes. We're trying to be a little bit more involved with you guys. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
We'll see you next time on the next episode of Hit the Fans. Bye.